Hello and welcome to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. And today's special guest is Neil Hurlock. And I met Neil a couple of weeks ago in New York City. Neil's a New York City guy, so you better be careful. He's pretty smart as far as the streets of New York go. So what's up, Neil?
Yes, my name is Neil Hurlock. I'm from Brooklyn. And the thing about us Brooklyn guys is like you like to spread love. I'm pretty sure you heard the term spread love. That's the Brooklyn way. And that's what we do.
All right, man. Well, thanks for spreading your love all across all of the billions of people that listen to this podcast. That's some good love. I think, what do we have, like 4 billion listeners? No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, hopefully we get 1 billion listeners, or maybe 1,000 would be amazing. We got some people who's actually interested, wanting to know more visionaries and stuff like that.
Yeah. And so I was teaching a class over in Brooklyn, and I came in towards the end of it. So there was another guy that was getting you guys prepared for when I came.
Mr. Wong. Yeah,
Mr. Wong. Yep. And then everybody took the NABCEP Associate exam at the end of the class. And there was 29 people that took the test. And a lot of people passed, and you did best out of a lot of people. I mean, you were one of the top scorers in the class, and I'm really proud of you, Neil.
Thank you.
You've done good.
I appreciate it. I mean, it came with studying, though. I'm going to be honest. Like, he's not even programming me to say this, but if it wasn't for Heat Spring, I probably wouldn't even pass, because the day before, I'm going to be honest, I'm a last second kind of guy. So it was like the night before, and I decided to, check it out, the Heat Spring. And it wasn't that I went straight for the questions. I just read all the answers. So I didn't really do any of. Yeah, I didn't. I just went straight for the answers, and I tried to cram in everything. But that's really the reason that I was able to pass the test. It helped me with like 3 or 4 questions. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure that it takes a lot of things. Like, most of all, it takes your dedication to studying. And so that was really good. And also, I think you're smart. And then the prep class, like getting prepared for when I came. And then when I was there too, we really just drilled question after question after question. And then one of the things that happens when I do a class in person is Heat Spring lets me give out the online version and include it with the class. So that's what you were talking about too, is you got the Heat Spring class. And so in the Heat Spring class for the associate, it's about an 18-hour class, and it has all these practice exams. And so I guess you were looking at all the answers for all the practice exams?
Yeah. First, I looked at practice exam number 1, and then I went to number 2. And I was like, let me get more to like the later exams. Because we was doing the exam that wasn't relating to things that happened in 2017 and so forth. When I looked at practice exam 4, I realized it was like the things that we studied in class. And I started noticing little things. It made sense, and I used that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was great. I wanted to feel confident when I took the test, because it felt like the stakes was high. It felt like I only had one shot, and I really didn't want to lose. I'm more of a sore loser type of guy. I don't want to live with any regrets. So I took the time to actually like study, raise the chances of actually succeeding. So that's what I did.
But yeah, that was a pretty good class. And it was at Apex Technical School. And they have 2 different campuses that I've worked at. There's the one in Brooklyn where we had 4 days of our class. And then the test.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, we did 4 days at the Brooklyn. And then when we took the test, it was over at their.
In Manhattan. Yeah. And that was like a commute that day, because I took the train and I got off at the wrong stop. I had to walk like, I would say like 7 long blocks before I even got there. So.
Oh, that's just good and healthy to get a little exercise in before you take a test. That probably gave you points, got the blood flowing.
Got the blood rushing to my brain, causing it to be active,
Yeah. But also, like, one of the things that happens is when I teach classes, there's certain people that are engaged more than other people. And you were engaged. Like, I enjoyed having you in the class, and you would just like speak up and ask questions. And so it was more like back and forth. And I kind of felt like we became friends during class, because we were talking, we were like having a conversation with the whole class there too, and in between stuff. And then we were doing like cool handshakes and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah, when you came down here, I had to make you try the chopped cheese, a New York traditional sandwiches, because I didn't want you to leave without at least experience in the city and, teaching and stuff.
Yeah.
To be honest, when I first came in, you know how it's like to have a substitute teacher when it's not your regular teacher. I didn't want to take this as a joke. When you came in, it was very brand new. It was more like an introduction to what we was about to start learning and the basics. So everybody was a little uneased. But as we continued with the program, we started getting more comfortable. And not only did the humor and the connection that we built made it easier to learn, it made it more acceptable, more open-minded to the conversations that we had. Because if it wasn't for being such a nice person, I felt like it would have felt more forced, more deliberate. But the emotions, the way we came together, that's what made this class such a great class, what made it easier. That's what I believe.
Yeah, and another good thing too is like we had like good meals. They took really good care of us. Like we had breakfast, we had lunch.
Yeah, what was that day? That time we had the rice, that chicken was good. You didn't get to try the taco thing?
Uh,
The taco when we had
yeah,
beef, steak, meat, and chicken.
yeah, I think like because they were feeding us breakfast, and it's like I'm coming from the West Coast, so I'm 3 hours different than you guys are, and so like at noon, it's 9 o'clock for me, and so at 9 o'clock or whatever it was, I had already had like a big old sandwich, and then it's like I couldn't even fit anymore. I was gonna just like fall asleep or something, and then after that day when I missed the tacos, I was like, I'm not gonna eat the breakfast sandwich anymore, and so that way I'd have more room for lunch. So.
Yeah, I was never really a big fan of the breakfast sandwiches. I'm more of a intermittent fasted type of guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, your body had to adapt. Remember the story you told us?
What story?
When you said that you was practicing going to sleep?
Oh, like when I changed time zones and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So, like before I go do a class on the East Coast, I start getting up a half hour earlier every day until I'm up like super early. So, our class started at 8. And so that means it started at 5 o'clock my time. And so
Wow.
I had to get up before class. I had to get up probably like at least the first day, 2 hours before class, which would have been 3 a.m. California time. So I was getting up at 3 a.m. before I came there, at least like the last day before I came there. There's like day before 3:30, day before 4. And that way I get adjusted. I can't stand being tired. So it's kind of funny how if you don't like to be tired, the best way to deal with that is by getting up early. And it sounds kind of the opposite. It's like if I don't like to be tired, I should sleep in. But if you keep on getting up earlier and earlier, then you're used to it and then you don't get tired because it's just like I really don't like being tired. And like another thing that I just noticed too is I just got done with this conference in Las Vegas yesterday, and it was the RE Plus conference. And this time I didn't do any nighttime stuff. So usually before it's like, oh, you got to go network with everybody at all these different parties and all that. And I did 16 podcasts that were half an hour each. And I also did 2 half-day workshops that were 4 hours each. So I kind of had a busy 4 days. That was all in 4 days. And I actually, this morning, I got up and I was like, you know what? This is about the least tired I've ever been after a conference, after even doing all
Yeah.
that stuff. Because I didn't stay up and go to the block party. And they had this other party. They call it Solar Fight Night. And it started at 10 o'clock at night. It was like 10 to 2 or something like that. And I just missed all the parties. And another thing about all those parties at the conferences is it's kind of loud. And I already did all of my concerts that I need to go to as far as that, because I have
You
hearing
had enough.
like I got hearing damage when I was like in my 20s for going to like AC/DC concert, or mostly it was this one concert. And so I have trouble hearing in loud places like with music. So it's like, what if I go to this party and I can't understand what anybody's saying anyway, and they probably aren't going to remember talking to me because they had too much to drink. So I just like figure I'm going to do better at the conference, like by being the guy that's awake all day and full of energy. So that's
Like that one sober friend, right? The one
yeah,
sober friend who has to drive the car. But I
yeah.
mean, going to events like that, I feel like you would have had to condition yourself more, take a little extra naps, a little more sleeping. But like you said, maybe getting up early could like solve the problem of feeling so drowsy and fatigued.
Yeah.
I
And
don't, I
going to
mean,
bed
I'm not,
early. Yeah.
yeah, going to bed early, that helps a lot. That's how I got through the days at the program. I had to go to sleep 10, even though I was so used to going to sleep like 2 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was something new for me because I'm really not an early bird type of guy. I'm more of a nightlife type of person. But I can't believe you missed out on all those solar events, you know. I feel like that would have been a good time.
I've been to plenty of them in the past, but yeah, it sort of is. It's like as far as jet lag goes and stuff, it's easier to stay up later than it is to go to sleep earlier and then wake up earlier. So you just have to kind of
Yeah.
like make yourself go to sleep by just using like, I better go to sleep now or I'm going to feel terrible tomorrow. Because it's a lot easier to stay up later. Like one thing I've noticed is it's like for jet lag, it's easier for me to go to China where it's like 8 hours difference, but it's sort of like staying up 8 hours later. It would
Oh,
be
I
like,
see.
yeah, so it would be like if you go to bed at like after work, like say I go to China at the end of the workday, I go to bed, it's like going to bed after midnight or, something like that. So if
But
I go to bed at noon, that's 8 o'clock in China. It's a different day, but let's just forget what day it is. And then if I go to bed at 4 o'clock, that's midnight. So if I get off work at 5, that's 1 a.m. And I could go to bed at 6, 7, or 8, that's like 2, 3, or 4 in the morning. And then I get to totally sleep in. And then like going to work the next day, it's like going to work in the afternoon. It's like you could sleep in as long as you want. So it's kind of easier to go to Asia than it is to go to New York. And then all of a sudden, like I was saying before, it's like I pretty much woke up at 3 a.m. California time, but I adjusted for it. That was the only reason that it worked when I came out that way. Otherwise, it's like there's nothing worse than having to teach a class for like an 8 hour day when you are super, super tired and jet lagged, if you can help it. Sometimes I can't help it.
yeah, because in our class, he was standing for like the whole day.
Hmm.
And I didn't even know how you did it because you was standing even for times where we had the break. And
Uh-huh.
me personally, I don't even stand that long for the bus stop. But what you did was crazy. That was crazy. But I'm pretty sure you felt a little tired.
Yeah, well, yeah, but like compared to how it could be, it was nothing like, and standing actually keeps me awake. And it's not like, it's not that hard. It's like as far as like how many calories. And if I sat there too, it would make not just me more sleepy, but it would make you and other students more sleepy too. Or it's like, hey, there's a teacher just sitting down. And so I just kind of feel like too, it's like giving you your money's worth. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like I do sit sometimes for classes and things, but especially like when there's more people, I'll stand up. But like when I teach the classes at RE Plus, like I do with my friend Bill, there's two of us. So then we go back and forth and we sit. For some reason, we just kind of evolved to sitting doing that. I think I just kind of followed off of what Bill did. We're both on our computers, and sometimes we like change the projector from my computer to his and all that kind of stuff.
It was like clocking in and he clocks out, then he clocks out, then you clock in type of thing.
Yeah, or it's like whoever has the better joke speaks up.
But yeah, I mean, speaking about sleep, I don't really, sometimes I don't really sleep early or go into bed early, but I feel like my body has this automatic clock. You just think about a time before you go to sleep and then your body just does its own thing and you end up waking up at times like, I mean, wow, first of all, thank you, body. And then second of all right, I got to get ready to go. And that's like a great thing about our anatomy, even though we might not plan it, but it'll work on its own.
Yeah, like one thing I noticed even like last night when I went to bed, I was going to bed with the idea is like, I want to have a great day tomorrow. And I wasn't even tired, but I went to bed, I'm laying in bed. Then I get tired after I'm laying in bed. I probably went to bed at like 9 o'clock, but I was just like, I knew I wanted to get up real early and get all this stuff done and not have to be walking around all tired.
Right. You ever read the book by Joseph Murphy, The Subconscious Mind?
And I have not, but you can tell us about it.
It says that everything that we think consciously, like the things that we're thinking as we speak, like the thoughts that we have right now, they're all being like recorded and analyzed for like later on, and they get into our subconscious mind naturally without anything forcefully doing it. So what I learned there was like you can kind of program your mind outside of just thinking it, speaking it, sort of like some type of mystical superstition manifesto kind of thing. And then you're able to program yourself to wake up at certain times. And it could go even further than that. And you can make yourself become a more positive person with positive thoughts. And it's like your thoughts program your subconscious mind.
So say the name of the book again, and we'll put it in the show notes too.
Joseph Murphy, The Subconscious Mind.
The subconscious mind. Interesting.
I'm fascinated by the metaphysical, the unseen and stuff like that.
Well, you know that solar energy is like kind of mystical. Like it's coming from this like big fireball in the sky that's nuclear reactions. That's like hydrogen smashing into helium, and then it's making electromagnetic radiation, also known as light. These things called photons come down to Earth to hit some crystal, and then that crystal turns light into electricity. And then also beyond that, it's going through these inverters that are also doing magic. So it's like we've got magic on the sun, magic coming from the sun, magic in the crystal, magic also with the inverters. So there's just like all kinds of magic happening, or at least things that seem like magic. I guess people say that like what seems like magic will be a fact some other day, or, you know, like all these things that we're doing in science kind of seems like would have been magic to a caveman, you know?
Yeah, now imagine trying to explain that to a caveman. That's like the response he'll get is probably like unga, because what is it's hard to let alone explain that crystals and inverters and all of these other types of things that goes on a photovoltaic system is phenomenal to the natural person. It's like, first of all, I want to say, as an average person, when you see solar modules, you just think of it as like, okay, it absorbs the sun. But it's actually deeper than that. They got silicon, bus bars, and it's like a little wafer. So, you know, they just probably see it as like one big window just absorbing the sun. But there's silicon, there's the bus bars, and then there's like negative, what is it, protons, neutrons, electrons as separating and going on each side of the solar panel. And it's a crazy phenomena that happens without the human eye seeing it. So explaining it to a caveman is probably like mind exploding out of everything. It's crazy.
Yeah, I guess it is easier to explain it to the caveman by just going like, it's magic. And then they'll think that we're gods too, you know. That's an old benefit, you know.
Yeah, we're like the sun gods, and they're like, all praise Sean White, all praise Neil Hurlock. That would be crazy.
Yeah, we could all be pharaohs if we could just go back and bring a little PV system.
But that goes to show, like, in history, things can change. Like, innovation happens as we go on in life. And who would have thought something that came in the 1950s will still be here today? And something like this even happens. Like, you got to realize these things are like, they all started with an idea. They all started with hypotheses, theories, putting things together. And then they just expand, and then minds come together and they help from different parts of the country, different parts of the states. And that's what makes innovation such a great thing.
I guess that's kind of what makes humans unique, is that we can collaborate, like you were saying, for different parts of the country, different parts of the world, and from different times. So like humans, when they invented writing, that was like the big, huge change where we can convey information through generation, through millennia. And so that's how we've figured out all these different ways. And sometimes I think it seems weird, like some of these ways that we figured out how to do things with like corporations, stock markets, all these like divisions, like, you know, it's like ways that people lend money. It doesn't seem like all those ways are natural, but it's just like we've kind of divided things into certain ways where that's how people do it. Even like you were saying, like for science and hypotheses and all that kind of stuff, where it's like they figured out how to do that with school and education and science, although there could have been some other way of doing it too. But it just seems the way that humans have organized things.
Yeah. I feel like even if we don't find certain things out today, I feel like one day it's going to be found out. I feel like the knowledge is already out there and it's just waiting to be found. wait to be made, you know? Like there's always going to be an idea. Probably the person who thought about time travel, the way we think about time travel now makes it feel like it's tangible. It's definitely tangible because it's a thought now. Now we just need more minds to come together the same way they came up with solar panels. Before that, they probably thought this would never happen. This doesn't even exist until it does. That's the thing about innovation and the future. But I had a question I wanted to ask you because, you know, you're older, you've been around. I wanted to ask you, like, what are your thoughts on, like, technology further, like growing technology? How we have electric cars, solar panels, and everything is going more technological, you know, cryptocurrency and everything. I wanted to know, like, how do you feel about the transition from your time to the future?
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty crazy. Like I can remember when I was a kid or whatever, and you watch James Bond movies or some cartoon, and it's like their watch is a phone, and it's like my watch is a phone. You know, it's like that stuff kind of happened. And then like I could remember like it would be really cool if like, whoa, somebody's got a television that they can watch TV on the grass in the park. Wow, that's crazy. And now it's like we've all got it. It's on our phone, you know. It's like we could do all that kind of stuff and a whole lot more. It's kind of weird that this little rectangular thing that we all carry in our pocket is even called a phone because it's not anything like a phone, and most people aren't even using it for phone calls. But I do kind of like the idea of like trying to figure out what the future is going to bring. And so some of these things are like more near future would be like is coordinating everything together with energy management systems, power control systems, and taking all the sources of electricity, which we're involved in with the solar and energy storage, and then all the things that use electricity and coordinate them. And some things use electricity and make it or can transfer it, like with batteries and electric vehicles, and just like coordinating all those things to go together. But I guess, you know, there's one thing too that I've always thought was just, it didn't seem like it's going to be in the future is cars. Like cars, they're fun, you know, like just like cars, the way that we know them, even electric vehicles. But it's also insane if you look at it from the perspective of somebody that's living in the future 100 years from now. It'd be like, what did you guys do this for? Like when my grandpa was a kid 100 years ago, they were taking electric trains to where I am, but they could get to San Francisco from this property where my grandpa was born, right, you know, some footsteps away from where I'm sitting right now. He could get to San Francisco faster than I can now on an electric train. And with cars, they're death machines in a way. Like each person has this piece of metal that weighs tons and it's going like at really fast speeds. It's amazing that more people don't die from cars. And I know you're young, but like you might know people that have died in cars, but you will, you know, if you don't know them yet, you will. And hopefully it's not people that you love and you know, and things like that. But also in the world for people that are your age, you know, until you get to the age where you start dying from the junk food.
We interrupt you for a very important announcement. Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast has been brought to you by Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast. That's right, Sean White is sponsoring his own podcast, and he wants to remind you to go check out some of his classes. You can go to SolarSEAN, that's Solar, SEAN.com, and then click on the links to check out his classes. You can check out his heat spring classes, and you can also hire him to teach classes for you, like at your company, something like that. Now back to the show.
Natural causes, natural causes.
Yeah. Natural causes, which is a lot of times junk food that they call natural causes.
Your lifestyle, not exercising, not taking care of yourself in your youth could lead to a lot of futuristic problems.
Yeah. So the number one cause of death for people like in their 20s and 30s and probably most of their 40s is going to be a car. And it's like, how many people like listening right now have been in a car accident? See, you're living in New York City. You have a whole different perspective because you guys are like kind of riding the future. I mean, you do have some cars, but cars don't really make sense there because it's too congested. And you get around, like you were just saying, like you took the train and you had to walk 7 blocks or whatever because you took the wrong train stop. And if we spent all the money that we spent on cars on things that would be like similar to trains, everybody could have a train stop at their front door, is what I think,
Yeah, but I mean, I see people as individualistic. So, some people really don't like public transportation and the things that they see in the media that's being published. They make public transportation seem like not only is it underfunded, but it's very scary to people who's just coming in. But it's actually a pretty great place once you start to navigate your way. You start to realize you can't get lost in this city. Because the thing about being lost here is that one train always leads to the next. No matter what, even if you go to Queens is a very rural area. It's more of a, upstate kind of neighborhood. It's not very urban the more deeper you go into it because you're going more towards upstate. So the thing about Queens is like, that's one of the places in New York where they lack a lot of trains, buses, and stuff of that sort. And you start to notice that you get lost in places that's more rural than urban because the urban environment that we have, we're all connected. All the lines, they connect. Even if you come to the end of the stop where nothing connects, if you at least go along that path, you're going to reach something to find your way. And you don't even need maps. That's the thing, because we have everything labeled. You can read. There's signs that says weekdays, this train is available. This train is express, expected to skip stops. And I do agree when you say, like, if more cities start with the innovation of more technology powered, where everything is more easier, less concerns about being mortal, because we're all human and we're all subject to chances and tragedy. So if we can move on to like electric trains, and maybe they can be powered in the morning by solar panels,
Yeah. Because trains are so much safer, so much more energy efficient. And public transportation is also even airplanes and things like that. But like kind of what I think too is like what they could have is like different levels, so you pay different amounts. And maybe in the future, we'll have something where you go sit in a little container. It doesn't have to be too big, like a little one, not like a container, like a ship container, but something where you have like a desk, your computer, whatever, and you can sit there and work, and it will change the train stops for you or whatever. They might not be even train stops. They might not be on wheels. It might be in vacuums or magnetically levitated or something like that. But something where I could just be like, okay, even though I'm in the country, I'm going to go walk to this side of the building. I'm going to go into this like vacuum train, whatever it is, and sit there. And it's going to take me 200 miles an hour. And I'm going to be in Walnut Creek, which is a city that's like 20 miles away. I'll be there in less than 5 minutes. I mean, that's physically possible, but there's always too many people that have too many excuses. And a lot of these excuses might have to do with the infrastructure and the big companies that are so invested in like cars, gas, freeway building, all that kind of stuff. And then it would be like a transition would be kind of difficult because how do you just switch somebody from all the stuff that we have now that costs all this money and then spend all this other money that's equivalent to how much we're spending on that stuff? So it's like for a while you'd have to like be spending double for a transition, and the transition might take decades, so that's why maybe it's kind of slower. I just always think that cars, like, they're fun and it's American and all that kind of stuff, but from a logical point of view, I think they're kind of dumb and dangerous.
Have you been to anywhere where like cars is not the main source of transportation?
No, I've mostly been hanging out on Earth. I mean, actually,
Yeah.
probably where cars are not the main source of transportation is like where you are, like Manhattan and Brooklyn and all that kind of stuff. There are other places where you can get around pretty well with trains, like Berlin and like London, Shanghai, like a lot of these places where it's pretty easy to get around. And also like the trains and things are really clean and safe and everybody does it. It's like, it's not scary, for anybody in a lot of these places, like in Europe or China or something like that. Well, Dubai, it does have some neat trains, but yeah, you can't get everywhere, but you can get certain places and they're nice trains.
Yeah, but I want to go back to how you said that we don't know certain things. The same way cavemen didn't know about how modules would be formed. I wanted to say, like, all we know is trains, planes, helicopters, and cars, but it's going to be something new that we don't know of. some new form of transportation. Like you said, like vacuum tubes, like Futurama, if you ever seen that cartoon,
Sure,
where they
yeah.
have tubes and they zoom inside of the container thing. And I'm pretty sure everybody's seen superhero movies when they have to change their costume and they slide down the little tube
Uh-huh.
and they're at the secret layer like Batman. So you never know. Maybe we just know it's transportation now because we live in the present, but we don't know what the future holds.
You know, I can remember when I was young too, like they had these banks and I think like Home Depot and stuff like that. They did have these tubes and they would put the piece of paper that you paid or the receipt or whatever it was, it would be at every cash register. And then it would just go into this vacuum tube and they push a button, it goes, whoosh, and it's all of a sudden it's on the other side of the store and the accountant's all like punching it in or whatever they do. It's like, I guess now we have computers that do all that kind of stuff, but it was the way to physically get stuff all the way across the store, like in a second or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds like some kind of a Willy Wonka movie, some
Yeah.
type of Tim Burton movie,
Yeah.
or like they just put things in a tube, like a scroll or something, an envelope, and it just gets sucked all the way to wherever it needs to go.
Yeah, and then in Las Vegas too, they're working on something. I think it's kind of cool, but everybody's, like a lot of people are mad at Elon, but the Hyperloop, even though like he's changed his political tone and all that stuff, some of his ideas are pretty cool. And there's that thing called the Hyperloop. It is like a tube. It's like a train and a tube at the same time, I guess. It's like they take most of the air out of the tube. And that's kind of like why an airplane flies faster when it goes higher, because there's less air up high. So there's less friction and resistance. So if you suck most of the air out of a tube, then you can push like a train or a car through it like really fast. And so you can go like airplane speeds and all that kind of stuff in a tube. So
Yeah, I believe transportation is something that everybody will probably see in the future because I feel like the more problems that we have, the more people are looking for solutions. And that's probably how we evolve as like a community, as a ecosystem, everything, because everybody's looking for a solution. But the thing that we lack is the collaboration with people who's willing to know, willing to learn, because like you said about the trains and solar panels, because we're so stuck in like our old ways that when something new comes along, we're very skeptical about it. We're very hesitant on what we want next step because we don't know what's next. That's probably what's happening with the transfer from gas-powered cars to electric-powered cars, because once we don't know the outcome where it's not guaranteed, we're scared to take that risk. But innovation has always been a risk and taking chances, and a lot of good things came from just taking that chance, just diving in.
yeah. And a lot of times too, what it is the richest people in the world made their money doing it the old way, and they're not going to want to change. And they got a lot of political clout, and they're going to try to put the brakes on it. And I think, the new way is finally going to happen. And then when it happens, it'll kind of be explosive and happen all at once, which is, I think we're seeing right now with solar and energy storage, and that just like the new energy economy it's the cheapest form of electricity. And, like there's the old way is trying to stop it, but they're not going to pull it off. It's like they're doing their last one thing of like trying to take away some tax credits or, change some policy, but that's not going to work because still we're the best deal and we're the future. It's like someday the people are going to look back and they're going to like, these humans where Neil and Sean were alive were kind of like crazy. They were like using explosions inside of cylinders to power things. It's amazing that it worked so well. And they were like burning coal to make like steam explode, like using tea kettle technology to spin big things, and people were dying. Another thing is like, when you're driving around, or like maybe you don't see it because you're in New York City where it doesn't happen, but like when you're driving around on highways that are outside of places where everybody takes a train, the biggest person for advertising is personal injury lawyers. And so that means there are attorneys that make money off of people that get in car accidents. And that is a huge, huge industry, is making money off of people that get in car accidents.
I feel like when it comes to business, there's always going to be like a benefit and a con that was set up by the same benefit. Like, I always feel like there's like some type of ulterior motive that goes on when it comes to certain things. Like, like you said, like the car industry, for every car, there's probably a lawyer. For every school, there's a psychiatrist, and there's always like a plan B, which leads plan A to always almost failing, because when you give yourself the option to fail, I feel like you're making it more likely to leave the first path that you took. Like you said, I feel like there's a lot of things going on, but solar panels are going to be good. Yeah.
So what are you going to do now that you went to Apex Technical School and got your NABCEP PV Associate? What's the plan now that you got the world your oyster?
Well, I'm going to open that oyster up and I'll take my opportunity, which I have. I'm being a part of a cohort now, cohort 3, and it's in Long Island City where I went to Apex. So not too far from there. And I'm looking forward to furthering my knowledge there. Come back, maybe tell you more about what I learned, because there's always going to be more future updates when it comes to solar panels. You should know that for most of all as a person who's up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to learn things brand new over there, tell you what I know, and I'm going to continue the clean energy act and like the industry. I'm going to keep it going.
Have you looked for yourself on the NABCEP website yet?
No, I haven't.
You know what? I'm going to just put your name in here. I see it right now. And it says Neil Hurlock. I'm at nabcep.org, and it says Neil Hurlock, PV Associate, certification number PVA 091225-017627. And it says expires 8/29/2028, and location is Brooklyn, New York. And now I could push on contact, and I'm going to enter my name and information, and I can get an inquiry. So like, I'm just going to say hi. And then it has a little thing, what's 6 + 7? And I don't know, I'm just going to guess at 13. And I'm going to push, I'm not a robot, and I'm sending you a message. So I just sent you a message. And then when you check your email, you should see this message that came from the NABCEP directory, because you're on there. So that's pretty cool. So I think that opens up a lot of opportunities for you also, because when there's people out there that are looking for somebody to help out in the solar industry, they're going to go there. They want to find somebody that is not only knowledgeable about solar, but somebody that's proven that they're knowledgeable, and also somebody that can follow through with getting that NABCEP credential like what you have. And you got to get some more, I guess, too, like the NABCEP PV installation professional or something like that. But I think it's a really good thing for you too to put like on your LinkedIn page, and you can get a picture of your certificate and put that you have that NABCEP associate there, and that is going to help you a lot too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to furthering my education, because this was just the first step. I feel like that was just the beginning and to get into the door. Mm-hmm. And there's just so much more that has to be done. This is just the beginning.
Great.
I just can't wait to hear about all the new things, all the updates, because your way is getting kicked out and our way is coming in, because I'm a part of a new generation. And it's up to us to continue the clean energy industry, because I feel like if we put it out there, advertise it more, we'll have more like generations coming onto it. Because at first I didn't know nothing about solar panels besides, okay, they absorb sun energy, and I didn't know anything about solar, the different branches that they do. I only thought of it as solar installation, and there's actually more. You get to track the sun. There's different tools that you can use, such as the pyranometer, the drones, and stuff like that. And it's just so much more that I can't even put my thumb on. But I do know a little bit about like the electrical things, which led me to being more interested into solar technology, because I was just interested in technology in general. But it's like a whole different ball game, man. It's an abundance of energy this time, because it comes from a big ball in the sky that's orange.
Yeah, and you know, another opportunity that you have over there too in New York is there's an organization called NYSERDA. It's like New York Solar Energy something, and they distribute funding, I guess, like for solar and energy storage projects. And in order to qualify, you need to have the NABCEP credential. So like NABCEP PV Installation Professional, or for energy storage, NABCEP Energy Storage Installation Professional. So you've already taken the first step towards getting those. And I know that people sometimes even contact me, or I'm on the other side of the country, asking me if I could help them qualify, a job in New York. And so you're right there, and you can get a lot of opportunities for that too. So that's pretty cool, just being out that way, because they want to make sure things are safe. And I know, like with a big city like New York City, they have kind of like extra layers of bureaucracy, you might call it, or maybe there's a better word for it, where they want to make sure people are doing stuff safe. And then you have some people that give batteries a bad name because they have these scooters and they plug them into their house, and they're homemade, and they're soldering more battery cells onto them. And it doesn't always turn out so well when they don't know what they're doing and they plug them in and they don't charge them right, and it can cause a fire. So they want people to have like credentials like NABCEP, like what you have. So congratulations, Neil. Woo!
Yeah, this is just the first step though, so I have to continue on and continue studying. But yeah, all those scooters and bikes that we have here with the electrical lithium ion batteries, those is like ruining the name for solar panels, because people are becoming scared of what solar panels could do without even having knowledge. They just think these are the same batteries that did this, and it's like they're learning to be feared of the solar panels. And I feel like the solar industry, we're actually doing a good thing, but the way we're being portrayed with the tax credit supposedly supposed to be removed by 2026 is ruining chances to like network and spread out our work.
Yeah, and I think too, like we were talking about that a lot, about the tax credits and things like that. And we're going to overcome it. We're going to have to be more lean. And so like before, with all these tax credits, there's a lot of competition for people to go door to door selling solar and charging extra money. And now that there's no tax credits, or there's going to be at some point, and they're only taking off part of them 2026, for some of them it's even 2 years later for a lot of it, then there's not going to be that incentive for people to pay salespeople all that money. So it's probably not going to be so good for like door-to-door solar salespeople, but those same door-to-door solar salespeople could just go out there and get a NABCEP certification themselves, and then maybe be a designer or do something else besides, knocking on doors, which probably isn't that fun anyway.
It's like trick-or-treating,
I guess, yeah.
But I mean, more people that's becoming designers, we start to learn more about how the solar industry could be not only installing, because like I said before, what comes to mind when you think of solar, all you think about is installing. When there's more to it, there's checking the map, there's learning the location, finding out the peak sun hours, using Google Maps, and all the assets that you have are also different jobs that branch off from just being in that whole circle. So it's not only just installing, and people are being given better financial stability because the low cost of electricity. And I feel like that would be such a better future. Not only do we have low cost energy, we have less pollution, less, people are tired of walking behind cars, smelling the exhaust, coughing. Now we have clean energy. We don't have to worry about the ozone. For those who's worried about climate change and the atmosphere, we have less things to worry about now. All this clean energy.
Great. Well, good, man. It's been good talking to you, Neil, and I really enjoyed having you in class. Like, you're my star student.
Yeah, we got to talk more.
Yeah, we'll stay in touch for sure. Yeah, well, let's be good friends. You mind if I ask, like, how old you are?
I'm 20.
So 20 years old, you've got like a whole world open for you. You got like lots of opportunities. You've got a great personality. You're smart. And I think you can get anywhere you want in the world. In fact, you know what? You could even be president if you wanted. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, just like keep up the good work. And I'm sure that you will be very successful in life.
Yeah. And I hope what you got going on and all your projects that's upcoming, I hope you have great, successful projects, because I know you work hard and you're traveling from state to state, teaching a lot of other classes, a lot of upcoming solar people coming up in the solar industry. And I wish you well on your endeavors.
Yeah, and I'll let you know the next time over there, I'm over here in New York City, which happens probably a couple of times a year, and we can hang out. And I hope to maybe even see you in a different class and see you at some conferences. And let's stay in touch. And I will keep my ears open too for like some opportunities for you.
Yeah, we gotta try to chop cheese again. And
All right.
what I wanted to say was like, man, meeting you was such a great thing. Like, I wouldn't have thought that we would have been such good friends because, you know, all of this other stuff. But man, you're funny. That's why you're real funny.
Yeah.
Like, you're real funny without trying, and it's great, man.
All right, man.
But I want to be on season 2 of your podcast, but you know, I got to learn a little more.
Okay. Well, we'll get you on for sure. Let's keep texting and hanging out. You're my buddy, my best friend.
Man.
All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Neil Hurlock, NABCEP PV Associate. You can find him at nabcep.org, and you just go to the top of the page. You click on Professional Directory, and then you do a search for Neil Hurlock, or you could find a solar person in Brooklyn, and he'll turn up there. And I also want to thank Apex Technical School for introducing me to Neil and all these great people that were in their class. They were so motivated to pass the NABCEP exam. I really enjoyed meeting you and all of the other students over in New York City. And thanks for listening to Sean White's Solar and Energy Storage Podcast, where you can find out about all kinds of good solar stuff and NABCEP classes, where you can find me to go teach a class for you in person or take my online classes at HeatSpring and get yourself that NABCEP certification, just like Neil Hurlock, NABCEP PV Associate. Woo!